Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are attempting to chart the staggering sphere of influence that one person can have.
And we're talking, of course, about Elon Musk.
Exactly. Our sources paint a picture of him as less of a traditional CEO and more of a walking paradox.
Right. He's balancing this, potential for technological immortality with Neuralink against the sheer volatility of a single crypto tweet.
It's a profile that really demands we dissect the tensions in his world.
Absolutely. You've got this revolutionary corporate vision. We're talking Mars, sustainable energy, AI, and it's just colliding head on with this very volatile public persona.
And a massive political shift, not to mention the constant regulatory friction.
Our mission here is to really understand the scope of that conflict and, what it all means, the so what of it all.
We've got 4 key areas to cover. First, his formative years and those 2 huge early wins. Then the big rivalry with Jeff Bezos, which is really about competing philosophies.
After that, we'll get into his power as a market mover, the numbers behind it, and the regulatory battles that followed.
And finally, the really profound stuff. The ethical frontier of Neuralink and the whole X platform transformation.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So while most people know the basic bio-born in Pretoria, South Africa, 1971, the source material points to a really crucial detail about his early life.
A detail that often gets overlooked.
Right. His mother, May, was Canadian-born.
Which gave him dual citizenship. And the key nugget here is why he used it. He applied for that Canadian passport specifically to avoid mandatory military service.
Under the South African apartheid regime. So that departure wasn't just, seeking opportunity. It was a principled strategic move.
It absolutely was. An escape that really set the stage for everything. And it immediately highlighted his deep interest in technology. An almost obsessive focus on huge problems.
He taught himself programming at age 10 from a user manual.
And by 12, he'd already turned that skill into cash. He sold his first game, a basic-based game called Blastar, for about $500.
That shows you the synergy right there, doesn't it? Technical skill and the entrepreneurial instinct from the very beginning.
And that instinct, well, it paid off very quickly with 2 enormous wins. These were the wins that funded everything that came next.
First up was Zip2.
Right. Co-founded in 1995, it was a web software company, basically an early online city guide.
And Compaq bought it in 1999 for $307 million in cash.
Musk's 7% share got him $22 million. He took that cash and immediately rolled it into his next much bigger project, X.com.
An online financial services company. This was in 1999.
Which then merged with a company called Confinity.
And Confinity ran the PayPal service.
Exactly. And that led to the really massive windfall. When eBay bought PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Musk was the largest shareholder.
He held, what, almost 12%?
11.72%, yeah. He walked away with $175.8 million from that deal.
So if you put those 2 together, you're talking about $250 million of his own capital that he just recycles.
Directly into his most ambitious projects. It's less like an investment and more like a massive fuel injection for SpaceX and Tesla.
And that recycling of capital, it brings us right to the modern empires. You really can't talk about Musk today without putting him up against his main rival, Jeff Bezos.
And the sources really emphasize this stark philosophical split between them. How they build for the future.
It's the revolutionary versus the systematic.
That's a perfect way to put it. Musk's strategy is all high risk, high reward. He's aiming for these huge leaps in technology.
Whereas Bezos is about building robust, scalable infrastructure monopolies first. Then he innovates on top of those platforms.
You can see it so clearly in the space race. I mean, look at the numbers. Since 2020, SpaceX has flown over 200 missions.
200. And Blue Origin.
Just 32. That includes crewed and uncrewed flights. It's not even close. And it's not just volume. SpaceX completely changed the game with reusable rockets.
They brought the cost way, way down. From something like $18,000 a kilogram to under $3,000.
And that reduction is everything. SpaceX's aggressive innovation is partly funded by these huge, lucrative government and military contracts, which lets them absorb more risk.
And Musk's ultimate goal is Mars colonization.
A self-sustaining city by 2050, he sees it as humanity's backup plan.
Wait, okay, so if Bezos' strategy focusing on lunar facilities, O'Neill cylinders, is seen as more, incremental and feasible, Doesn't Musk's Mars or bust approach become a huge liability for SpaceX if Starship fails? Is that revolutionary risk really necessary, or is it also just a brand choice?
It's both, and that's the genius of it. He sells the revolutionary risk to the public, to investors, but he relies on the systematic stability of NASA contracts to actually pay the bills.
Ah, okay.
Bezos does the reverse. He built AWS, a literal infrastructure monopoly, and he's using the cash from that proven profitable model to fund Blue Origin. He funds his dreams with proven profits.
Musk funds his dreams with aggressive capital raises and government partnerships. And you see that in the raw numbers, too. Bezos' total empire, mostly Amazon, is projected to bring in around $624 billion in 2025.
Musk's combined ventures, about $130.5 billion. Bezos just dwarfs him financially.
And this is but Musk's companies have way higher growth rates. Tesla's growing at 38% year over year. Amazon is at a stable 12%.
It reflects their core philosophies. Bezos is maximizing efficiency right now. Musk is maximizing potential for the future.
It's the same split with AI, isn't it? Amazon have Alexa in millions of homes, and their AWS AI services are a $25 billion business. It's infrastructure.
It's total infrastructure. Meanwhile, Musk launches xAI with Grok, integrates it into X, and focuses on real-time info, on this idea of a more truthful AI.
And in physical infrastructure, you've got the Boring Company trying to cut tunneling costs by 90%, versus Bezos just perfecting logistics on the surface with over 1,000 fulfillment centers.
One is chasing hyperspeed underground. The other is making sure your package gets to you tomorrow.
That need for speed and disruption, it transitions perfectly into how Musk operates on public platforms. The second he tweets, he becomes this global market force.
Let's look at the quantitative evidence, the Musk effect on crypto. It's astonishing.
An event study looked at dozens of his crypto tweets. What did it find?
A highly significant result. A single tweet leads to an immediate 3% price jump and a 4.79% cumulative abnormal return, or HAR, over the first hour.
Okay, let's just clarify that CR metric. It's not just the price jump itself, it's the return above what the market was already expected to do, right? It isolates his influence.
Precisely. His influence is pure signal, and the effects were completely different depending on the currency. For Dogecoin, his tweets were almost all positive.
So they consistently drove up the price.
Consistently. A 6.33% CAR over 1 hour. He basically turned it into a meme stock.
But what's really fascinating is that for Bitcoin, his tweets had, on average, no significant effect.
Right, but that's only because his wildly positive and equally negative announcements just canceled each other out over time.
When you pull them apart, you see the real impact.
Oh, yeah. The polarization is crystal clear. A non-negative tweet, like his famous Diamond Hands tweet, could cause a positive return of up to 16.9% in 2 hours.
But then one single negative tweet, the one about Tesla suspending Bitcoin purchases?
It triggered a nearly 12% negative abnormal return in the same amount of time. His sentiment is the driver. Market volatility is the result.
This kind of high-wire act, it has to bring massive regulatory friction. Does his willingness to move markets like that show a broader skepticism of traditional governance?
I think so, and it's well documented. We all remember the 2018 SEC settlement over the funding secured tweet.
Right, that cost him and Tesla $40 million in fines, and he had to step down as Tesla's chairman.
And that was a direct result of market manipulation claims. And the scrutiny has not stopped. January 2025, the SEC filed a new lawsuit over his 2022 purchase of Twitter stock.
And yet, look at the volatility of his compensation. A judge in Delaware rescinds his 2018 pay package, calls it unfathomable.
And then, despite that, the shareholders turn around and approve a potential $1 trillion Tesla pay package in November 2025. It's incredible.
The rewards and the risks, they just remained historic.
Beyond the market, his political views have gone through a pretty dramatic evolution.
He moved from supporting Democrats like Obama and Biden to becoming a really outspoken backer of the Republican Party.
And that shift became very tangible around 2022. It culminated in him becoming the largest individual donor in the 2024 presidential election. He fully endorsed Donald Trump.
And then he jumped straight into the administration.
It was a swift integration, but a brief one. He served as senior advisor and de facto head of the Department of Government Efficiency.
But that only lasted from January to May of 2025. Then he left after a very public feud.
And that political philosophy, minimal oversight, maximum free speech, you see it reflected so clearly in the policy changes on X since he took over.
And it wasn't just a simple rollback of old policies. It was a systematic restructuring.
The biggest change was abandoning what Twitter used to call its arbiter of truth role. They removed policies on things like crisis misinformation, COVID-19, civic integrity.
So, election misinformation.
Gone. But at the same time, they expanded rules in other areas. Child safety, for instance. They broadened policies to cover physical abuse, not just sexual exploitation.
Okay, and what about hate speech?
That's where it gets complex. They rolled back specific protections against misgendering and dead-naming transgender individuals, but the core rules against general discrimination based on gender identity are still there.
It all seems to come down to their new enforcement philosophy.
Freedom of speech, not freedom of reach.
Which means?
Instead of just suspending accounts for non-severe violations, the platform now prefers to just restrict the visibility of those posts, exclude them from search results.
The idea being that the solution to bad speech is less distribution, not total silence.
Exactly. But the practical problem with that philosophy became clear really fast. In October 2025, they launched XAI's Wikipedia.
An AI-generated encyclopedia.
Right, billed as this truthful alternative to Wikipedia. But it immediately faced huge criticism. Our sources show it was often just reusing Wikipedia content, but framing contested topics in line with Musk's own views.
And the sourcing was a major issue.
A huge issue. Citing unreliable or extremist sources. We're talking InfoWars, even the neo-Nazi forum Stormfront. It just showed how hard it is to balance that philosophical commitment to free information with the practical need for verified facts.
And now we get to what might be his most profound and maybe most unnerving venture, Neuralink. We're talking about literal breakthroughs in merging mind and machine.
The medical breakthroughs are, they're staggering. We've seen successful human chip implants, paralyzed patients controlling computers with their thoughts.
Playing chess, posting messages on X, it's transformative.
And the FDA just granted breakthrough device status to their blindsight implant,
which aims to restore vision by stimulating the visual cortex. If that works, it's life-changing.
It's sight-restoring technology. But, and this is the critical turn, the company's stated goal isn't just to treat disabilities, it's to transition to human enhancement.
To unlock human potential for healthy people. And that's where the neuroethical debates really begin.
And one of the first issues is just basic transparency, right? They announce these world-changing updates on social media, not through traditional peer-reviewed scientific papers.
It creates a layer of public mistrust around really complex science.
Compounding that, they got criticized for failing to register their first human clinical trial in the clinicaltrials.gov database. Pre-registration is essential for accountability.
To make sure they can't just cherry-pick the good data.
Exactly. And even though they corrected it later, that initial lapse, it undermines public confidence in the research.
And then you get into the deep philosophical questions about human identity itself. When your thought can directly create an external effect, like a post on X without any physical action, what happens to your sense of agency?
That's the psychological feeling that you are the author of your own actions. When that line between internal thought and external action disappears, you get this concept of self-disembodiment. You start to see yourself as extended beyond your body.
As if the computer becomes part of your identity.
Precisely, which makes the idea of neurorights incredibly urgent.
We need to define rights to mental integrity, freedom of thought.
In an age where AI can interface directly with the brain, if a system can read or influence your thoughts, mental privacy becomes the most fundamental right there is. Neuralink is forcing us to define where the human mind ends and the machine begins. So if we synthesize all of this, what we really see is this clash between the two dominant approaches to the future.
Musk's vision is revolutionary, it's volatile, it's all about these massive technological leaps. Mars, Neuralink, the trillion-dollar pay package.
He's trying to disrupt the very definition of what it means to be human.
And then on the other side, you have Bezos. His approach is systematic, scalable, incrementally profitable, AWS, Amazon Logistics, building the infrastructure first.
He focuses on dominating the existing structures of global commerce.
And the competition between these two, one built on systematic scale, the other on revolutionary risk, is shaping everything: commerce, space, human identity.
It's a battle that's driving innovation much faster than regulators can possibly keep up.
So, what does this all mean? It leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to explore. Given Elon Musk's dual role as a major political power broker and the owner of the very platforms like X that he uses for these huge scientific announcements, especially about Neuralink, how should we, the public, and how should regulators balance public trust when the source of revolutionary innovation also controls the means of its own communication?
That is the question we all have to grapple with as his influence just continues to expand.